Hey, what is going on, guys? Welcome to Sunday Night Live. I am back from the Philippines. We'll talk a little bit about that in the live stream tonight. Ryan, what's going on, man?
Nothing. I'm actually glad Thanksgiving's over. I've had way too much turkey
Yeah,
because we have like 4 different ones we have to go to,
nice.
and we finally decided this year that everybody that was coming to our house, we're gonna do
There you go.
Italian food. So it
Yeah,
was nice to not have turkey for one of
yeah.
the 4 meals, but it was still a lot. I'm on tryptophan overload, but you
There
were
you
in the Philippines, man. I mean,
was,
that's
dude.
how was that?
Dude, that was awesome, man. Jessica and I flew out on a Thursday and we arrived on a Saturday. Have no idea how that works out, but there's like 12-hour time difference.
Mhm.
But it's phenomenal, man. We got there, and Wayne Pomposa, he is a home theater designer over in the Philippines, and he had reached out to me several months ago and said, "Hey, actually over a year ago, we first began talking." And he said he was building a showroom, and he said, "Man, I'd love to have you over." And so I just thought, "Oh yeah, sure, I'll just love to have you over," kind of thing, and but never really thought that, okay, this may actually really come to fruition. And so we just began to talk. And as he got closer to it, he's like, "Hey, look, I really would like to have you over." And I said, "Okay, well, let's see what that would look like." And so he and his team flew me over there, picked us up at the airport. And I can tell you right now, the guys in the Philippines and the people there, super nice, incredibly nice. But man, they cannot drive for nothing. It is a zoo. There's like
Is it
no rules.
terrifying?
It's crazy. It's terrifying, but it's entertaining at best. I mean,
Mm.
it's phenomenal, man. These guys on scooters are weaving in and out of traffic. And the crazy thing is you'll have 2 lanes going one way, 2 lanes going the other way, and the people going opposite of you, if
Mhm.
they're in a motorcycle, traffic slows down, they come into your lane coming right at you. Everybody's honking and stuff. It's crazy. So it's like New York, but worse, man, I think. So but it was awesome, man. The people there are super sweet. Got a chance to visit and film. Just uploaded that video today of Doug. I'm sorry, not Doug. Wayne's demo room, showroom. They have a 12.4.12 system, man. It's crazy. And then we went over
A 12
to
point what?
12.4. So
Oh, I thought you
12.1,
said 12.12.
four.
It's like,
No, no, no.
dang.
So 12.4. So 12 bed layer, 4 subwoofers, and 12 Atmos speakers or height overhead kind of speakers.
Mhm,
So basically, they wanted to make sure that they could accommodate all formats: Aural 3D, DTSX Pro,
mhm.
Atmos, and IMAX Enhanced. So, and they even brought the gaming chair in there, a little with the wheel and the pedals and stuff. Got a chance to race Gran Turismo on that. That was fun, dude. So super cool. It's like 168-inch screen, I think, if I remember correctly. So pretty big, 16 by
Nice.
9 screen. They were doing all Triad speakers, monolith subwoofers in there. So very, but then they were running Trinov and Storm Audio amplifiers, had a Tone Winner amplifier for the LCR. So it was kind of cool because they had like really high end stuff, but also some very budget friendly
Mhm.
stuff that, worked very, very well. So it was pretty awesome. And then we went over to Doug Kramer's home. Dude, his setup is sick, man. Complete JTR. He has a 12.4.8 system
Wait,
in
why
his.
is it 12?
I don't
Are
know.
they
This,
running Phantom Centers?
I don't think so. I think. Well, I know Wayne has a. I'm sorry, he has a center back on the back wall, so he probably did the same thing in Doug's.
For what?
Don't know. Just the way he designs them. And with
Interesting.
Chernoff can handle that. So, but yeah,
Interesting.
man. Yeah, it was wild, man. Super wild. But hitting Doug's
Hmm.
setup, he cranked it up, man. And he's got probably, I'm guessing over, I mean, at least 50 busts so of different characters,
Mhm.
Joker and Batman and Wonder Woman, and then all these kind of horror ones, and then all of the alien ones. It was crazy. Life size Iron Man. So I can't wait to share that. That's going to be super, super dope. But his video was a little different because in my brain, I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to do my standard home theater tour. We're going to go in his home. we'll check out his system, maybe eat dinner because he said he was going to cook steaks for us, and then we'll
Mm-hmm.
out the camera. And so we start going down to his theater room, and as we walk down the stairs, he's like, "You want to grab your camera?" And I said, "No, I'll just kind of check it out first." And he had his videographer with him, so she
Mm-hmm.
was. And so we go downstairs, and he's like, "Well, guys, here's my man cave before we go into the theater room." And I'm like, "Well, wait, let me just go get my camera." So I just
You had a
grabbed
change
it.
of heart, huh?
Holy cow. So that was more of I'm just following him. Like, he led the whole thing. It was just, so that one's going to be a different style. And I don't even exactly remember what I filmed. I even handed off my camera to one of Wayne's guys, and he was filming me and answering, or like talking after the demos and my impressions, or not impressions, what would it be? Reaction live as we're watching a video. And it was just insane, man. Like, definitely one of the top uh most incredible home theaters I've experienced. I mean, just really, really over the top. We of course did Ready Player One. We did Hacksaw Ridge. He loves doing Hacksaw Ridge, and that was a phenomenal scene. And then of course we did Maverick, and man, just incredible. So super, super fun. So I'm gonna make a couple videos from that trip. And then I was telling you backstage, is that I had a company reach out to me just today from London, near that area, and
Mm-hmm.
they're considering maybe flying me out sometime in March of next
That's
year.
super cool.
So yeah, man. So some really interesting things are happening on the channel, and so I'm just grateful. And but it was just an amazing trip, man. One of those things where we only had 3 physical days there, and then the rest was flying. So Jessica and I would love to go back and maybe visit some of the like the beaches there, and spend a couple weeks over there. Because I mean, we on the map it looks like it's close. Of course, I know it's not, but we were right above the where was that? Australia. We flew into South Korea. We're there for 2 hours in the airport. So man, you're already over there. I mean, it's like a 16-hour flight to get there. Um, and that's just one flight. So we had 3 flights each trip. So there was about a 1.5 hour flight to Atlanta. And then from Atlanta to Seoul, South Korea, that was about 16 hours. And then another 4 hours from there to Manila, Philippines. But while
Mm-hmm.
we're over in that area, in that Asia area, man, I would love to really spend some time, just kind of just hanging out and visiting some of those locations. So if we go back, it'll definitely be several weeks. So, man, I'd love to say hi to some folks before we kind of jump into your questions. Actually, I'll throw that up there first. So if you guys have questions, definitely drop those in the chat. We'll get those, we'll star those, and we'll kind of answer those as we go. But want to say hi to some folks. MQ, what's going on, man? So he is from Philippines, and then he's now, I guess, in Hawaii. So man, that's got to be super, super cool. Chris is in the house. SRW 1000, good to see you, man. Poncho, Steve, Fred, Tim, lots of folks in the chat, man. Don, good to see you, man. He's in Florida. Terminator Juice, Rollin, looking good here, man. So I'm gonna try to kind of go through these, your comments, and if there's things that come up, I'll just try to answer them kind of live as we go. But if you see some, Ryan,
Star in the questions as they come up.
yeah. So SRW 1000 says, that's the first time I've seen a fire extinguisher in a home theater. So this was actually a kind of a dealer showroom. So I don't know if that's their regulations there, or that's just kind of customary there. So not real sure, but yeah, they had that big fire extinguisher in the back.
Probably
You
for a
never
good
know, man.
reason
That stuff gets
for how
heated
much
up.
power that thing was putting out.
Exactly. Make it hot in there. So let's see, man. Big hello from the Netherlands, man. Good to see you. Super cool, man. Yeah, we had a great, great, great trip, man. So yeah, so I was in Manila. So we were I don't know exactly where all we were at. But we flew into Manila, and then we drove, I think, about an hour to where Wayne is, and then somewhere maybe hour to an hour and a half to Doug's home. But again, I don't know what cities we were in, because Wayne was doing all the driving. So that was super,
Now, were
super
you
good.
at their locations multiple days?
So we stayed at a hotel that was very close to, like, 10 minutes away from their designs, what I call their showroom. Let's just call it that. So this is his second showroom. So this is kind of like their main one that they've built.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's been designing for several years, like 3 or 4 years. But his first one, he shared it in the video, is that it was kind of like in his home. So he's got a showroom, theater room, really small space. So this is like a big opportunity for him. And I just think it's phenomenal because, you've got to realize Philippines, man, this is a third world country. And so to have even something this nice, he was sharing with me, we didn't talk about it in the video, but he was telling me like how difficult it is to get a lot of things over there. Even just
Mm-hmm.
wood, you think about, oh, I'm just going to build some acoustic panels, right? Well, that's a bigger difference and bigger um, struggle for them than us here in the States. So just doing something like that, so it's a pretty big task. So sometimes they have to substitute materials depending on what they can get. But it was super fun, man. So definitely enjoyed that. But yeah, so we stayed at a hotel. We were about 10 minutes from there. So we went the first night. The next night we came back, and then basically filmed, most of the day there. And then the next night we went to Doug's. Oh, and I guess that would be the third morning. We filmed a second video at their showroom, and then that night or that afternoon we went over to Doug's house. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, we went by there a couple times.
Cool.
Yeah.
I'm glad it
So
was a good
Steve,
experience.
it was, man. Steve said, "Don't drive there. It's crazy." Absolutely, she's right, man. It was. They got these cool
It's like a
things, man. They're
sport.
called it's called jeepneys. So it's kind of like a small bus, but they decorate them really cool and just really a lot of character in those. But they pull over, somebody hops in the back, some people hop out sometimes, and I guess they just hop in and pass the money up to the driver is what I'm told, because the driver's just literally all the way in the front and they just load up from the back. But those are everywhere. Motorcycles are kind of like, not really motorcycles, they were smaller,
Mopeds.
kind of like that, just kind of small motorcycles.
Mm-hmm.
But man, it's every man for himself. They come to if it's kind of like a two lanes merging,
Mm-hmm.
forget it. You just got to focus on who's in front of you and don't hit them. That's really the only rule, because they don't even look. They'll pull out in front of you, but they're not looking back to see, is there anybody there? They're just like, wow, it's nuts, man. I'll tell you, it's just so,
My wife would have a
so
heart
different.
attack. She
Yeah.
already has heart attacks when I drive, and I think
Yeah.
I'm okay, but man, you go
Oh,
over there, she'd probably have an aneurysm.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, the food there was really cool. Again, it was just a little bit different. They've got the only time we went to a kind of a normal restaurant would be, I'm trying to remember what it was called. It's basically their equivalent of old Jollibees. So it's their equivalent of McDonald's, except they have spaghetti. And I had spaghetti and chicken when I was there because I figured I can go get a hamburger at any McDonald's. So let's get something that you
Mhm.
don't get at McDonald's. So it was just definitely different. Not as good as McDonald's, but it was decent. But we had some Asian food while we were there one time. That was really good. And so, but like I said, man, it was super, super fun, man. Hey, Don, appreciate that. Terrifying traffic. Try Egypt. Apparently that's kind of a mess there as well. Oh my goodness. So you can drive without a steering wheel, but not without a horn.
That
Crazy,
makes
crazy,
sense.
crazy. Cool. So like I said, I'm just kind of going through these kind of I'm actually looking through all the chat now. So could you talk about your experience with Triad in walls? How do they compare against comparable speakers in the same price range? I'm not sure how they compare to other speakers in the price because I don't even know how much Triads run. I know they have
Mhm.
3 different tiers. I think there's like maybe like a bronze, gold, and silver or something to
I
that
think there's
effect.
4.
Is there 4 of them?
I
What would be
think
the
I
fourth
think
one?
there's bronze, silver, gold, and platinum.
Is there platinum? Okay.
I
So I
think
know they
so.
have different tiers and they're all in different price brackets.
Mhm.
So I believe he was running golds in the front for his LCR, and then all of the side surrounds, and then the upper layer speakers, all of those were the silver Triad speakers. So that's probably about the third or fourth Triad system that I've heard. Very, very great. It's definitely it's one of those things. It's completely different than Martin Logan. It's completely different than JTR. It's completely different than Clips. And it's hard for me to like describe like, okay, what exactly am I hearing? It's just different. I mean, it was crystal clear. I love the separation that he had in his setup, but that's because they have a bed layer that's a lot lower than my bed layer. My side surrounds and rear surrounds are really too high, but having those all really not low to the ground, but basically a good separation between the top layer and that bottom layer just really adds a great amount of immersiveness to that. But yeah, like I said, I don't know how to describe what Triad sounds like. They're probably not as forward as some of the other speakers that my ears prefer, like a JTR or Clips. So
You like your horns.
I do, man. I really do. I
So
love compression drivers. I love horns. So
Triads, when
uh,
it comes to in-wall speakers, they do have um, some compression drivers, but what sets them apart from a lot of in-wall companies is they have built-in backer boxes. So it's like putting a cabinet speaker
sure.
into the wall, which is really, really important because instead of using the cavity in the wall between the joists as the area for resonance for the speaker's backer box, you have a predefined box that can be calibrated by the company and you're getting a defined response. And a lot of times, not a lot of times, but there are times where you can actually get a better experience from an in-wall than you can from a speaker in the room because you're not having to take into account that front wall, right?
Right.
It's in the wall and it's broadcasting directly out from it. So you can get a better response that way. But triads are one of the ones that I really like
Yeah.
as far as in-walls. Them and Perlissons are phenomenal as far as in-wall experiences go. So I think, your experience with what you saw in the Philippines was kind of spot on. They're great
Yeah.
speakers.
Yeah.
Obviously, they need the correct implementation, but Triad does really, really well, and I would
Yeah.
highly recommend them. They're
Yeah, like I
solid
said, I've
speakers.
heard probably 3 Triad systems, and, there was only one of them that I wasn't real fond of, and that was because he had 0 acoustic treatment in the room, like none. I'm like, it was pretty underwhelming, but I knew
Mhm.
that I couldn't base my opinion off any speaker in a room that had a pretty massive I mean, even in the video, this is a long time ago, but, even in the video, I mean, people were commenting like, "Wow, that room is really lively." I'm like, "Yeah." So that doesn't do a lot of good for acoustics.
Mhm.
So,
I mean, I
yeah,
think
man.
you want a lively room. You don't want a dead room, but you don't want something that's over. You still
Yeah,
want the human ear does prefer some reflections, and
sure.
it does prefer a little bit of distortion,
Yeah.
but you definitely don't what you're talking about want
So
no treatments or something
one thing
that's
that was interesting with Wayne and his setup is he shared in the video, he said that they actually put more absorption in that room, in his demo room, than they typically do, and that's because he has so high of a channel count. Because if you got that many speakers and that many reflections, it's just the more reflectivity you have in the room, the more unintelligible it's gonna be. And so his was, I don't say it was dead, but it definitely was, it didn't have a lot of reverberation at all. So
Mhm.
but like I said, it sounded really, really good. Channel separation was fantastic. They were running a Trinov processor, and then just some external amplification from Storm and Tone Winner.
Interesting they're using Storm amps in a tone winner processor. That's interesting.
No, no, no. Trinov processor, 2 Storm amps, and then Tone Winner for the LCR, just to power the LCR. It was like a big amplifier. So I guess they
Hmm.
have 16 channel Storm amplifiers. I don't know what
Yeah, they
the
do.
wattage is on that. So
Not a whole lot, but they do have them.
yeah, so I think the tone winner just provides
Interesting.
more amplification up front. So and again, it part of it's probably what they have access to, you know, so or
That's
what
true.
they easy.
That's
That's the
true.
thing. Like he was telling me, he's like, man, for us to get certain things over here is it's just really difficult. So some of the decisions I'm sure are going to be dictated on, you know, how much access they have,
Mhm.
to different brands and different things. But he was telling me, he said most of his clients, surprisingly, are from the US. So what he does is he'll design your home theater, draw it
Mm-hmm.
out, give you all the plans, and then of course you take that to your builder, and then your build. But he'll figure out, okay, mathematically, okay, where's the best placement for your speakers, and of course he'll recommend, what types of speakers based on your budget and all that stuff. But they'll draw it up in like I think they use AutoCAD, maybe. I'm not sure what design software, but they'll draw 3D renderings of it. Oh, he even said they actually have the ability to draw this thing up in VR. So you actually
Oh,
can kind
that's
of
cool.
stand in your room that that they're designing for you. So I thought that was pretty cool. So it's
That is
amazing
cool.
how far technology has come. So Roland says, "Hey guys, looking to upgrade from a Yamaha 3080, looking at the Marantz Cinema 50. Is that a good upgrade, or what do you guys recommend? Thanks." So I'm not familiar with like any of the Yamahas. A long time ago, I was wanting to reach out to Yamaha, and I just never could get in touch with them. So I've owned only one Yamaha in my life. RXV 1800, I think, is a pretty old one, probably about 15, 20 years old. So I am not familiar with the Yamahas. I'm not big on their YPAL though, just
Mm.
personally. So I would prefer definitely Odyssey or Dirac or ARC or pretty much anything other than YPAL. And
Isn't the 3080 fairly new?
let me
I
take
want
a
to
look
say it
here.
came out this year or last year. Isn't that like a new AVR?
Let's look here. So
I just Googled it, and Audio Science Review or
yeah, January
Audioholics has a review on
2022.
it from January. So
Yeah, so this is
hmm.
probably current model, but like I said, they're still running. I don't think they've changed. I think they're still using their YPAL.
Oh yeah.
So to me, I'm just not a big fan of that, but that's just personal. But there are a lot of guys that run Yamaha and they love them.
So my question with this, Roland, is why do you want to upgrade?
Yeah,
What do you feel like you're missing? That's and well, I'll grab your question as they come back in, but that's my biggest thing is what do you feel like you're missing
sure.
that something like the Marantz Cinema 50 is going to deliver?
hmm
I
It's
guess it could
always,
be direct.
yeah. I mean, sometimes we just see new and shiny, and we're like, man, am I missing something? And a lot of times we're probably not, you know. But there's always that what if in the back of our mind. So, but yeah, the new ones, I definitely like the way they look, but I haven't reviewed
Oh
any of
yeah.
them to
Man,
know.
they're pretty.
I've been asking them since I started my channel 4 years ago. I'm like, you know what? Y'all kind of had the same look going on for a long time. It'd be nice to mix that up and,
I mean, they
uh,
still have the other ones. These are
mhm.
just like their upper
But they look
echelon,
nice,
right?
man. Yeah, they look sweet. Just definitely got a cool. Well, even their new models that they introduced at Cedia, they look pretty, man. Super slick.
Yeah,
A lot more
they really
modern.
do.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So yeah, so these are hi-fi Sundaras, man. He's got good eyes. Look at there. Give you a little peek at those. So Ryan hooked me up with these, man. So these are great. The only thing with this, for me, because of my glasses, if I wear these, if I'm pushing like an hour and a half to 2 hours, it starts kind of pushing on my ears.
On the frames.
Yeah. So, but if I didn't have glasses, man, these are like so comfortable. But I think it's just because these are heavier,
Hmm.
because they're made of metal, man. These things are like crazy. Look at that. I mean, they're gorgeous, man. Well
I got
built.
tired of looking at your old headphones.
Yeah, where they at? Yeah, these are kind of booty, to be honest with you. They're like 20, $30.
They did
They
well.
kind of look cool, but they're cheesy. I mean, look at this junk. They're not good,
God,
but they work good. Just they don't sound that great. They're okay. Nothing fancy.
I'm glad you like the Sundaras.
Yeah, man, these are awesome, dude. I appreciate it.
Mhm.
All right, here we go. So we got another one. Joshua, building a home theater in my bedroom. Dude, I love that. I just want to stop there because I've always encouraged you guys, don't make excuses, man. Don't worry about if your room isn't the right size or the right dimensions, or your budget isn't big enough. Just do it. And I love the fact that you're willing to even do a home theater in a bedroom. That's awesome. Tight on space. What are your thoughts on a subwoofer underneath a bed? Any recommendation? Now that's pretty interesting. Never seen anybody put one under the bed. But absolutely, especially if you can build one that's kind of flat enough to slide under there. The biggest thing is just take measurements. I just always try to tell people, if you don't measure, you're just kind of guessing. That whole sub crawl thing, I think it's flawed in a lot of ways. You're not seeing what frequencies have good bass. You're just hearing some bass and go, oh, okay, that sounds good. But I'd rather you measure that with REW, maybe a calibrated microphone. But I've seen guys use I had one guy, it was a 12 by 13 bedroom, and he did an 18-inch infinite baffle. So the rear of the subwoofer literally is in the adjacent room, just sticking out of the wall.
Was this the Harry Potter one?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember that video.
So
That was
12 by
crazy.
13. It was awesome. And he had two 15s behind the seats. So you can definitely get creative. I don't see there's anything wrong with putting a subwoofer under the bed.
As long as you have space. The other thing he could do is Boss. Direct attach, especially with the JBLs. I think they're still on sale. Direct attach the JBL 12-inch drivers to the bed.
That's gonna be weird though, with the springs and the inches. Yeah, that'd be wild.
I mean, it could be good. I mean, they'll fit. They're 6.5 inches deep and direct attach them. I mean, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, you may not even want to watch a movie. You just may want to just crank them up, man. It'd be kind of a fun ride.
Don't be giving people ideas.
That's a good way to have additional children, man.
I didn't go that far, but Youth Man.
We keep it
definitely
PG
did.
here. We keep it. Hey, I got 4 kids, man. So Frank, appreciate that. Yeah, I'll definitely be doing so again, this one's going to be not so much a full walkthrough home theater tour. It was really Doug just kind of sharing his home theater. So I didn't, like I said, you'll just have to see it. It's different, but it's crazy impressive. And like I said, his bust collection is off the chain, man.
That was ridiculous.
I mean, I got some photos on Facebook if you guys follow.
I really like the Alien and Predator ones. Those were the big ones.
They were
for me.
gorgeous, man. And I got some really good B-roll shots and stuff. Oh, one of them that was really awesome. If you guys like Joker, or The Joker, I think it was called. The part where all right, so you're looking at Joker, and that's cool. But then if you look kind of at the bottom of the bust, it's real small and kind of hard to see. But when you get up close, you see a stairway and then the shadow of him at the top of the stairs. Remember when he runs down the stairs? And then the other one was, if you flip it around to the backside, it's him sitting at the mirror when he was, I guess, putting on his makeup or getting ready for the show or whatever. And he starts laughing, hysterically, kind of because of his disorder. But it was cool how they added that into that. So that's super cool. So I've got some really nice 4K footage of that. Let's see. Cool. Just checking out some of your comments. Terminator. What is the worst subwoofer? What's the worst subwoofer hum buzz you've ever experienced? My new SVS SB 3000 subs now have a loud high-pitched whistle. Okay, that's interesting. Buzz, and I'm waiting on SVS to see what they'll do for me. Yeah, so a lot of times I've experienced, well, let me back up. Before I ran a dedicated circuit in my theater room, almost every subwoofer I'd ever hooked up had a hum in it. And that's called a ground loop. I don't know mechanically, electronically, what that is, other than just the way that things are going. It just creates this, I guess, like ground loop. And so that just creates this really horrible sound. Sometimes you can buy there's one on Amazon that somebody recommended to me. I think it's about $75. Yeah. So you can buy it, literally just plugs on the wall. It's got some electronics in it. Plug in your subwoofer to that. And sometimes that'll get rid of it. So if they find out that, maybe they send you a new plate amp and you swap that out and it's the same thing, then that's an issue with your electronics. Your electrical system in your room. The best way to solve that is to run a dedicated like 20 amp or 30 amp circuit to your room or multiple.
You've even got to be careful with that though.
Really?
Yeah, because if both of the circuits terminate to the same ground point for the house, you'll still have a loop, because if they both run back to the same panel, the ground. So if you've got an outlet that's over here and it's running to the same panel, and then you put another one over here, and it's running to the same panel. It's still a circle, right? So the problem that you run into is voltage irregularities. Now, the ground is supposed to be a constant set voltage, but it's hardly ever that voltage, and there's discrepancies. So you end up with this hum or frequency that will travel, and it manifests in this hum that you're hearing. So the couple solutions that you can do, Michael brought up the isolator, which is a fantastic idea. The most common one that people use, if it's coming, I guess I should preface this by asking you a question. If you unplug, I'm assuming you're using RCA, if you unplug the RCA connected to the subs, does the hum go away? And if it does, the loop is being connected from your AVR over the RCA. And if you replace the RCA, if possible, and not all AVRs or pre-pros have this, with XLR, the balance connection will get rid of it. The ground loop will still be there, but the speaker, due to how XLR works, since they're balanced connections, will drop that hum. If you're in the US, it's usually 60 hertz because that's what our electrical grid runs at. But typically XLR will get rid of it because it will drop it because it looks at the discrepancies between the two feeds, and the ground in an XLR connection doesn't really do anything as opposed to what it does in an RCA.
Gotcha.
That would be the first thing. Check if you unplug the RCA, does that hum go away? And if it does, that's what's causing it. But the ground loop isolator should still get rid of it. But if it's coming over the RCA, if you plug that into your AVR, I bet you it'll go away.
Gotcha. Yeah, so this is the one that people had recommended to me back when I had it. Looks like they're still selling them. So there's different models. So you can check out that particular brand there. So here's a question from Grave Danger. I'm using a Roku HDMI to get sound to my Clips 5s, and then I run an HDMI splitter to my Plasma that is leaning against the wall. So Plasma, of course, doesn't have ARC because it's an older format. And to my projector for the video. So the audio for my 5s, I run a fiber optic. And then he says, where was it at?
Because the 5s are powered, right? They're active speakers.
It's active, like bookshelf. They've got 8, ARC, which again, he can't take. No, I was thinking of the receiver, but you don't.
I think what he's doing with Toslink is fine. I think that's perfect.
Did he?
I don't think there's a. There was a conversation about it, and the audio for my 5s runs a fiber optic, which is Toslink. So I think that's the best way to do it. I mean, another solution would be to run something like some type of preamp and then do it that way. But I think what you're doing is fine.
Yep.
And then Terminator Juice just got back and he said the sub buzz sounds more like a whistle, and I believe it's unrelated to any ground. It's coming only from the amp. That sounds like capacitor whine or some type of board malfunction, and SVS should take care of that.
Yeah, they've been there. You'll find that SVS takes care of their customers, man. They're awesome. I've seen them even kind of warranty or fix an issue of somebody that was out of warranty. So they're just really top notch. So just reach out to their support. Where was the one? Oh, here we go. So Brian, you'd asked if I'm satisfied with my current theater speaker system and how its dynamics compared to, say, IMAX active horns. Again, it's difficult to compare my home theater to IMAX massive cinema theater that has 100 theater seats. I can tell you I'm absolutely satisfied. I have no desire to change speakers, at least my front soundstage, LCR, bass. I don't find there's anything that I'm lacking. It's more than I will ever be able to utilize in that size room. And so if I ever move and upgrade my room, I have no worries or concerns that I don't have enough horsepower up front. Eventually, I'd like to replace my side surrounds, rear surrounds, possibly my Atmos speakers with JTR with their, I think they have the 110 SLs. So that's like a slant. But definitely not on the top priority list right now. But
I'd actually say that I prefer my theater to going to the theaters. And I think a lot of people do. The theaters they're great, but I don't think they come even remotely close to some of the the home theaters that I've been in.
I
They
do
don't. They cut. Go ahead.
I like Dolby Cinema. Atmos, I'm
Yeah,
sorry, IMAX is great visually, and it's loud as
it
crud.
is.
The bass is underwhelming to me in most
They're
or
all underwhelming for bass
so
to
the good
me.
thing with Dolby Cinemas, they have like the butt kickers or the tactile transducers in the seats, so that helps out with that. So
The Dolby's, I think, it's the best of the bunch, but I think it still doesn't compete
yeah,
for a good setup home theater. I mean, think about what they have to do. I mean, they
mm,
have to cater to
sure,
the least common denominator instead of being able to focus on one thing in one seat. They're having to make every seat really good, and that makes for a non-ideal
sure,
experience in most parts. But it's still great. It's still a
sure,
great way to share an
absolutely.
experience. But by and large, I would much rather watch something at home.
That's why we build it at home, man.
That's why we do it.
Yeah. Niraj says, "Hey guys, what do you think about going for Sony? I guess a 45 ES rather than for beginning range 4,000 4K projector from Epson BenQ Optima."
I got to look
So
that one up because I've never seen that one before.
yeah,
HW45ES.
is that an older model or I'm not sure. You
I
can
don't
put it up
know.
on the screen if you got it.
It's a
Epson's definitely.
1080p.
So I'm assuming he's looking at like really budget friendly options instead of
I
going
mean,
to a
it's
4K.
$2,500 on Amazon,
And it's only 1080p.
but that's used. So I don't know.
Hmm.
Maybe he's buying it used. I don't know.
Okay.
My go-to for a budget projector,
Epson.
Epson, 50
Mhm.
40, 50 50 every
Yeah,
day of the week
yeah,
will give you a phenomenal
sure.
experience for the money.
Yep, I agree. Yeah, the BenQ I haven't really seen. Optima, the Optimas that we've seen, they weren't impressive to me. I
I
think did
mean,
we have
they
one at
do
Emily?
okay.
No,
I
at
have
your it was at
I had
yours.
one in January. It did okay. I mean,
It was garbage, man.
just
It wasn't
it
great.
does great for outside. It's a
Yeah,
light cannon. It's
yeah,
super small. I
yeah,
mean, I wouldn't do Optima in
yeah,
Epson every day, all day, no comparison.
sure.
Find if you're on the used market, find a used 50/50, used 50/40.
Yeah,
You can probably find a used 50/40 for under $1,000, and it'll
sure.
be great. 2K E shift, phenomenal.
Yeah, for sure, man. I am looking at some, and it's hard because like part of me, I just want to throw up like every comment, but I know that we'll be here for 3.5 hours if I
Nah,
do
you
that.
just got to focus on the questions.
I know it. So I'm just looking. All right, I'm down to the next one. I'm just scrolling through.
Yep.
Carrie says, "Hi, Michael. Welcome back. Appreciate it, man. Hope you had a great time," which I did. By the way, what is the best home theater sim room you visited on your tours? So, man, that's a great question. I get that asked a lot. So, honestly, Doug's home theater was one of the absolute best that I've heard. I really enjoy Tony's, which is SOWK. Both of those are JTR speakers, so you know what my ears like. That's the
Yep.
the clarity, the dynamics, the detail, kind of a forward sounding, rock your socks off kind of thing. That's what I love. And JTR definitely. I've always liked the sound of clips, but JTR is like on a whole new level. That clips can't keep up with. So, but those are some of my favorite. One of them that was I didn't expect it to be. It was a DIY sound group, phenomenal sounding, but it was also the biggest home theater I've ever been in. Massive. I think he has like 12 or 13 seats. 206-inch screen, I think. Just enormous, beautiful, beautiful. Like it's probably an $80,000 projector. Sony. So just really, really cool setup. But I've heard so many awesome home theaters. It's like not like everything's garbage and these are just the Mac Daddy. Those are just the
Mm-hmm.
ones that my ears said, man, that just I walked away just grinning ear to ear, going, holy cow, that was just crazy. But there's so many great ones out there. I mean, Ryan, I've been to his home theater many times, phenomenal sounding home theater. Um, you know, my preference, like I said, I'm probably not a electrostat kind of guy for home theater, and he's got a combination. You got electrostats on the bed layer, and then kind of like traditional.
Yeah,
direct-
but Martin Logan tries to match everything to the electrostatics.
Yeah,
But that shows that everybody's a little bit different, and people are
100%.
going to like certain things, and that really emphasizes our point of you need to go listen to things. You've got to
100%.
go
Yep.
figure out what you like because
Yep.
speakers are going to behave a little bit different. Yes,
Correct.
you can EQ the ever living hell out
Yeah.
of speakers to try and make them sound different,
Sure.
but then you're messing with their characteristics. You can do some wonky things.
Sure.
It's really important. Listen to
Mhm.
things, find what you like, and then make a determination on a direction that you want to go from there.
Yeah, I agree, man. I don't know, you can't always hear it, but if you can, man, I mean, even if you've got to jump on a plane and go meet somebody, that you met in the forum to be able to listen before you buy, dude, I'm telling you, it'd be worth the flight. If you spend a couple
Mhm.
$100 and you're like, you either know, man, this is awesome, this is exactly what I want, and you had a chance to experience it, and you know what they're capable of, or you get there and go, oh wow, I would have spent X amount of dollars and I would have probably hated it. So,
Mhm.
if you
It's
can, man,
super important.
I definitely encourage you to do that. And what I'm finding with the home theater community, the vast majority of us, strangely, are willing to open up our home for people that we don't
Mhm.
know. It's like, hey, I mean, Ryan's done it. I've done it. While I was there was a guy I was like, hey, can I come over? And he's like, yeah, come on over. We brought a guy. I remember I brought him over there.
Yeah.
He emailed me. He's like, "Hey, dude."
Didn't he meet us at the restaurant?
Yeah, he's like,
Yeah.
"You were in town, and I didn't realize you're this close, and I'd love to just come by and say hi." And so he came by the restaurant. We were going out to lunch, and so we're about to wrap up and head back to Ryan's, and one of the other guys that I was sitting with at the table, Ryan was at another table, and he's like, "Hey, you want to come back and hang out with us?" And I'm like, I don't think that's
I'm
my
not even privy to this
yeah,
conversation,
yeah. Ryan's
but it
like,
was fine.
it was
I have
so then
guys that I don't even know from out of town come in and stay the
I
night.
know it. So it was funny. So when we got back to Ryan's, I'm like, Ryan, just letting you know, dude, there's one of my subscribers, super cool guy, by the way, but he's here at your house. He just showed up. So that was in January. So that was awesome. So Kellen, good to see you, man. Kellen said Wayne is a great guy. Helped him design a room, his room. Went a little different route, but his ideas were top notch. And aesthetics are so good. Definitely. At the beginning of the video I showed today, it just kind of shows you some of the designs that Wayne has worked on. So he's saying Road Y says 3080 is Avantage. Always like that
That's the
name.
line it's from.
Avantage.
Yeah.
I like that, man. All right. Let's see.
Oh,
Let me turn
speaking of
here.
that comment, he did
Yeah.
talk. Yeah, it's right here. He
Okay.
said he wanted to go for Dirac Live, which
Cool.
I think Dirac is
Yeah.
above everything else. So if that's where you're going,
So the new Yamahas have direct live as well.
no.
So
He
this
said
is
he wanted to go to the Cinema 50.
oh,
Remember,
that's right. That's
he
right.
wanted
Okay.
to replace it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Yeah. I
yes,
think
I
there's a
would
big
say
difference.
that could be worthwhile because the Cinema 50, it's not hugely expensive. I mean, it's a couple $1,000s, I think. But I think that would probably be worth it. And if you're interested in one, feel free to shoot me a message because I think my distributor has those in stock.
Cool. All right. Let's look here. So Roland said, oh, sorry, wrong one. Dirty Motley says, I have a vaulted ceiling. So that's when
Mm.
it's kind of like that. It's like a V shape, upside down V. I don't know what 212 pitch is, but I'm assuming probably pretty steep,
It's
maybe. I don't
it's
know.
2 feet. I think it's 2 feet horizontally for every 12 feet vertically. So that's pretty
Is that steep?
steep.
Okay. So the hard part with placing Atmos speakers like that, so if you think of in ceilings, they're not going to work.
No,
For the most
depends
part.
on the in ceiling. Some of them they have like you can sit them in flat and you can
Some of them,
angle.
yeah, I guess so.
But
So
for the
some of
most
them,
part, yes, none of them will work.
it's gonna be
I
really
wouldn't do
hard
that.
because
Yeah,
that's
I wouldn't
really
do that.
limited. So you might have to get like a speaker mount so you can aim them and mount some speakers up there. I think it's just definitely going to be challenging, but I think you can make it work. Um, you're just going to have to get creative. So ideally, you're going to want to try to figure out like where the best place is to place those, but you
Mhm.
really need to be able to aim those speakers at your listening position. So if you're not able to do that, it's really, I mean, if they're aiming at your sidewall over here and this was
Yeah.
aiming at that sidewall, you're going to get some really funky stuff.
cabinet speakers on the ceiling for sure. That's what I
Yeah,
would do. No
yeah,
question.
yeah. And like I said,
Because
if you can get like a mount and be able to aim that, that'd be well. Oh, I was about to say
or you're
SVS.
like me and be cray and drill into your cabinets and not
Right.
care.
But that's what I'm saying. I mean, you're gonna have to get creative. It's not gonna be probably a plug and play system. And there's some
No.
speaker manufacturers that have a mount built into it. So maybe kind of consider something like that. But I'm with Ryan. I would do some kind of contained cabinet, not like an in ceiling. I think that's
Like a traditional bookshelf. And there's nothing wrong with using a bookshelf on your ceiling. My theaters, all my Atmos are bookshelves. They're
yeah,
getting ready to be changed to center channels.
yeah.
But
So like I
it's
think Chana had he's got some Focal speakers and they're like these little round dome, but I think
uh-huh,
I'm wanting to say they have like some kind of mount so you can aim
uh-huh.
those. So maybe
Well, and then
some
Jonathan has the 70 J1s mounted to his ceiling.
okay, yeah.
So
Yep.
there's all
Definitely
different kinds of things for sure. But some type of cabinet speaker that is not an in wall mounted to the ceiling so you can aim it.
yeah.
No question.
Yeah. So great question, Greg. Why did you choose to upgrade from the 7705 7706? So that's a Marantz processor. In addition to features, were there sound quality differences? Probably not. I didn't really be able to. It's hard to do a back to back, like side by side A/B fast
We
switching.
did it at M-Wave.
I know, but like
Not
for
in your
just
room.
yeah, in my house, my setup, I don't have that capability. So I literally ran Odyssey, set it up, and so there's probably at least 30, 45 minutes there, maybe even longer, maybe an hour. So your brain isn't really capable of going, okay, I know exactly how this sounded. I know exactly how this sounded an hour apart. I truly don't believe your
You won't
audible
remember.
memory is that good.
Dude, you can
Some people
hardly
claim they
remember
are.
like 2 seconds.
Some people
It
claim they are, but I just don't see that.
No.
I have not experienced that personally. So really it just came down to just, when I review something, I definitely get accommodation pricing on this stuff. So it's easier for me to upgrade to something than, somebody that's having to sell theirs, turn around and buy it at full retail. So really it's just one of those things that I don't always upgrade. But it just, the opportunity came and I ended up reviewing it. So I'm like, all right, I like this one. So, but as far as sound difference, if you've got the 7705, unless you need like,
Unless there's
um,
a feature it has.
yeah, I mean, I don't think you're going
Channel
to,
count maybe.
yeah, no, they're both 11 channel processors, 11.2.
Same thing.
Mm-hmm.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't bother.
And I'm trying to remember, I think like the 7706, that's when they came out with the dual presets. So that's kind of a cool feature. But again, depending on what that price difference is between the 7705 and '06, and now the 7706 have increased quite a bit, like 30%, I believe,
Mm-hmm.
since they originally came out. So it may or may not, make the most sense to you. So, but as far as if you're just doing it based on sound quality, I wouldn't recommend upgrading. I
I'm a
think you've
firm
got to have
believer in you buy an AVR pre-pro based on not the price point, but the features that you need,
sure the
and
feature
you
set.
go from there based on what you need:
Mhm.
channel count,
Yeah.
HDMI type, room correction, PQ. I mean, all that kind of stuff. So buy based on that. For the most part, if you plugged one in and we're just doing nothing and doing stereo on one and did the same thing on the other, you wouldn't
Yeah.
be able to tell the difference as long as
Yeah.
they were level matched.
Sure. So, kind of in conjunction with that, do you think that there will be an upgrade to the AV7706? 100%. There's
Yeah,
always going to be an upgrade to it. Just a matter of when. I think Marantz typically, what do they do? Like every 2 years. So it might
it may
be
be in the
next year,
cinema series now. I don't
possibly.
know what
Yeah.
they're doing.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't necessarily know if that cinema series replaced the 7706, and I haven't really
I don't
done
know.
any research on the new models yet. So, but yeah,
That I don't
absolutely. I mean,
know.
every AVR, every processor, they're going to eventually have an update and a replacement. It just depends on how long that takes. So, Jar Guy says, "Have you ever A/B tested a Kaleidescape and physical media?" I have not.
I
Um,
have.
all right. So, what's your experience side by side? You visually
There's
see any
really no
difference?
difference. No.
Yeah.
I
I
mean,
think Kaleidescape, it comes down to
he,
features, like you said, and simplicity and
yep.
convenience. You know, a lot of
Yep.
that a lot of that. I mean, that's kind of like their whole business model is built off of that, and their brand.
Yep.
Really.
And I agree. I think it's down to convenience. Sorry.
I think you're getting
Michael.
that's okay. I think you're getting equal, you know. I don't necessarily know if you're getting better. I know that their marketing team says it can be better, but I haven't really seen anybody like measure that or test that.
It can be, and it is sometimes, because you can get certain pieces of media that were never released in Blu-ray or 4K that came from the studios. That does happen. And I'm sure there are, files that come out that are larger than the physical disc, because you're not constrained by the physical disc boundaries, like whatever 90 gigabytes or over 100 or on the different Blu-ray types. That certainly happens. Now, much like with audio and amplifiers and DACs and stuff, just because there's a measurable difference doesn't mean we're going to be able to see the difference. So
right, sure,
there absolutely probably is a difference. But when I'm sitting in my main listening position, in my main viewing position, and I'm watching something and I switch back and forth, I can't tell. But I think their primary function for buying a Kaleidescape is ease of use, access, and just being able to get whatever I need, whatever I want. That is the main selling point, and that's what I tell people when they're asking me about Kaleidescape is, do not buy this expecting that things are going to be better. Buy this because you want things to just 100% work, and you want things to be on demand when you want them without having to worry about anything and getting things early. Like I got Maverick 3 months early before it came out on physical release. I got it in August, and it didn't come out until this month, which was huge. So, but doesn't always happen, because it's down to whatever the studio is going to offer. So it's not, Kaleidescape doesn't set any of that. That is up to the studio. Kaleidescape really only determines the physical hardware. It's up to the studios to dictate pricing and release schedules. Kaleidescape doesn't have anything to do with that, and they get very little money from the actual purchases of movies.
Super cool. Yeah, I love Kaleidescape. Kind of above my budget right now, but definitely it's slick, dude. Super slick.
If it's within your means, it's pretty cool.
Yeah, for sure. So Thomas says, I'm doing a home theater in my bedroom, ordered acoustic combo panels. I'm wondering if I made a good decision. I have acoustic combo panels, so that's absorption and diffusion or reflection in my theater room. One thing that I did on mine, originally I had a lot of those on the bed layer, and I actually I removed the combo panel, like the wooden plate that's in front of the acoustic panel, on my first reflection points, because I felt that I would rather have that. Like, I don't want that reflected at all. I don't want that any bigger than what it is. I want it to be what I'm hearing from my main speakers. And that may be a preference. I know some guys that have diffusion, right there at the first reflection point. So that's probably going to be a preference, but I'm definitely not an acoustician, whatever that word is.
Acoustician?
Something like that. Yeah. One of those.
Something.
Acupuncturician. I don't know. Something like that. But yeah, so I don't think you made a bad decision by any means, but you may find if you place those in your first reflection point, if like mine just has 4 screws, so I can unscrew that reflective plate, that wooden plate that's in the front, and just try it both ways. Now, of course, if you do that, you need to rerun your calibration software. And what'd be even greater is if you have the ability in your, like the new Denon and Marantz receivers have that preset. So you could set one preset to this and one preset to that and make it a little bit easier to switch between. But then you also got to put back your panels too, but might make it easier on calibration. But so I don't think you made a mistake. I think you're good to go. Any experience with episode subs? I have not. I'm not familiar with
I've been around a couple. I think they're underwhelming. Subs are hard, man. And subs, people under allocate their budget for subwoofers. I mean, subwoofers is a big part of the experience. I mean, it's way bigger than I think what a lot of people want to give it credit for. And they don't allocate because they see these flashy speakers and they just see this box. Like, I don't want to spend a ton of money on that, but man, your subwoofers do a lot of lifting. And I'm not saying episode subs are cheap. I know they can get quite expensive because one of my distributors sells episode subs, but I think they're just kind of underwhelming. There are very few companies that do subwoofers very, very well over the entire range. It's pretty
Mhm.
easy to do the high end, like the higher frequencies that subwoofers usually do pretty easily. But when you start getting really low, very few subs are able to do that.
Mhm.
Another part of this question, Chadman, is budget, right? Budget is a big driver of subwoofers because
Yeah.
you're only really going to get specific features. I'll call
Mhm.
them features, but abilities in a subwoofer at certain budget ranges. And
Yeah,
that's
like
because it takes a
DSP.
bigger driver, a bigger box, and DSP and amps and stuff to be able to
Mhm.
get to those things. So if you want to post your budget, I can kind of go into a little bit more about that. But I'm not really going to take too many more questions because I think we still got a lot to get through. But if you post your budget, I can rehash this right before we get off.
Yeah, certainly. Let's see. So Juan says, for not a high-end home theater system, is there any advantage of using OFC speaker wire versus CCA? And I'm not familiar with those. Only thing I know is most people will recommend use a fully copper wire. Some of them are like copper, and I don't know if it's copper and silver or it's a certain percentage of copper. Whether or not you can hear that, I don't know, but people just recommend it over the years. Like, just make sure it's like fully copper. Is that the same thing, OFC versus CCA, or do you know, Ryan? I'm not
OFC
familiar
is
with.
oxygen free.
Okay,
And
so
then
that would still be copper.
CCA
I know there's some. I forget
is,
the name
I
of
don't
it,
remember
but
what
it.
CCA stands for. I think it's
CCA.
aluminum coated. I
Yeah.
don't
See, like
think you're
that.
going to notice a difference. I mean, it's still copper in the center. I mean, I've
Mhm.
I've tried and run speaker wire, or not
Yeah.
speaker wire, coat hangers to my
Right.
speakers. You can't hear it. Was there probably a measurable difference? Yes,
Yeah.
but I couldn't tell the difference. So honestly, if you get a decent speaker wire that's of the appropriate gauge for the length, you're
Mhm.
going to be fine.
Yeah. Good question there, man. Home Theater Fever, Ryan, which Martin Logan electrostat speakers do you have?
Not the ones behind me. Those are the Neoliths. But which ones do I
Come.
have? I've got the 15As are my left and right, which is the Renaissance. The 34C Illusion is the center. The EFX are my surround bed layers. My rears, my far rears are the baby ESLs. And then I've got the 60 XTIs in my demo station, the 35 XTIs, the 35 XTIs for my Atmos, 50 XTI for the center height, and there's a couple Martin Logan subs floating around the house. So I'm all in on the Martin Logan electrostatic bandwagon. I
I love them, man.
love
They're good though.
I love planars, and I love line sources, and I just fell in love with them a long time ago, and I can't get away from them. So I'm all in.
Gotta do what you love, man.
Yep.
Glass Medic. I have a SVS Ultra 7.2.4 home theater with dual PB 2000K Pros. Should I implement a mini DSP? So if you have more than one subwoofer, I always recommend it. I still think you're guessing at best when you just have two subwoofers and you move this one over here and then you move this one here. All right,
Mm-hmm.
is that better or worse? Okay, let's try it over here. I
I
feel
mean,
more bass, but you don't know what
you don't have
frequency.
to guess. You could do it with Rue or
Right. Yeah.
REW, but you can't make
Yeah.
any changes.
Correct. So, I mean, I guess all right. So let me preface that. If you measure it and you get a flat frequency response, like it's boom, flat, you don't need a mini DSP. You got a great frequency response. It's when you got these funky dips and these massive peaks, that's when you need to kind of tone those down, play with phase adjustment, time alignment, all those things. So, and you really can't do that with just, um, you know, without some kind of external product like a mini DSP. So I love the mini DSP. Definitely a big fan of it because I've seen it fix issues in my room. So
I agree.
Chad Man again says, which model home popcorn machine do you recommend? I don't have any experience with popcorn. None. I got a microwave. Does that mimic going to the movies? Do you have a popcorn machine or know anybody in KC that's got one? I don't even know what brands are
There's too
available.
much work. I mean, I love freshly popped popcorn, but it's a lot of work. I mean, you got to clean it, take care of it, and then my kids would be in it. It'd be a disaster. That's all I need is my 12-year-old downstairs popping popcorn at 3 a.m. and then not telling us and then not cleaning it.
That'd be
Chris
awesome.
says Grant has one. I think he does have one, but he doesn't use it all that often. At least I've seen. So it's
his was like crystal clear. I was
spotless.
like, yeah, I was like, whoa, dude.
I just took it out and power washed it and then never used it again.
Jed says, LS 12,000, any good? Ryan, you probably have more experience with that.
LS 12,000 is a great projector. I've seen plenty of them. Jonathan has one. It's a phenomenal projector for the money.
Yeah.
No issues with them. If you need them,
one of the new lasers.
If you need one, hit me up. I just became a Epson dealer. They opened their dealer applications back up, so I was able to get in.
Nice. Super cool. So if you guys like Epson, Ryan's your man. All right,
no idea on availability, but we can see what we can make happen.
Oh, shoot. Yeah, see, so here's where it gets. All right, guys. When you start scrolling, okay, here we go. I found it.
Oh, there was a super chat. Hold on. There was a super chat. Or maybe we haven't made it down to it yet.
I haven't. Yeah.
We're almost there.
2 more.
We'll get there in a second.
Yep. I got you covered. Rex, need a recommendation for a universal remote. Does anything fit the void left by Harmony? Short answer is not really. The sofa baton that I reviewed, I would not recommend it. It was very buggy and it just seemed really limited, kind of cheap. The I hate this name. The Best Joy Super Remote, not the greatest name choice, but I think it's got some good features and it worked really well. Had no issues with it. Their app, it just needs a lot of work. It is not user friendly. It's really, really kind of awkward to use and set up. But once it's set up, I mean, everything worked great. I didn't have any issues or glitches really. The one I'm most excited about right now for consumers that want the ability to program it. So this would exclude Control 4, Crestron, Savant, those types of things, is a company called YIO. They're making a Remote 2. So I was in contact with them sometime last year, and they were supposed to have their remote like launching sometime this summer, but of course now it's winter. So that time has come and gone, and I really haven't had much updates from them as far as when they're thinking that's going to be ready. But keep an eye on that company. It's called YIO Remote 2. So I actually have a video. I think I have one video and a live stream kind of talking about that back when they were doing their Kickstarter. And I was super impressed. I've been on some different calls with them and some of their live streams, but I think it's the most promising right now in the remote community to replacing Harmony and then some. I think it definitely offers some really nice customization stuff, and it just looks gorgeous too. I think it's like a metal remote, just super sleek. So I'm excited about that, but again, I don't have it in house, so I don't know how it's going to perform. Terminator Juice, I had my mind set on the new Sony or JVC laser projector, but now I'm leaning way more towards the Epson LS 12,000 just because I can't bring myself to spend more than $4,000 on a projector. So again, this is one of those things. Epson brings a huge value to the table. I prefer JVC over Sony, but both of those, like you said, you're what, 10 grand? I don't know what's the cheapest Sony, the new one, the 5,000.
The 5,000 is $6,000 MSRP.
Okay. So actually that's close to your budget, but that's a lot more than $4,000. So if 4,000 is your budget, man, dude, I would highly recommend an Epson. So I rocked the 5040 for, it's probably 2 years. Love that projector. It was great. JVC just took it up to a whole new level with black levels and so forth. But yeah, man, I don't think you can go wrong with Epson. They're a great value. I don't even think they're like, I'm hesitant to call them a value. You know what I mean? Because in our mind, we think, oh, well, it's not really that great, but for the money, it's good. No, I think it's great. It's actually a good projector. Like I would have, I mean, the image quality on it, the brightness you're going to get out of the laser. Of course, not having that bulb dim over time. There's a lot of value in that. So But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have a problem recommending Epson if that doesn't fit your budget for JVC or Sony. So you got my permission. Go spend some money. It's funny, man. I say that jokingly, but it's funny. Like sometimes I think people watch my channel and they're waiting on a comment or they're waiting on a review just so they can have permission to spend money. It's crazy to treat yourself kind of thing. I find it. I appreciate the $10 super chat. Howdy, I'm running Marantz 8805A with Bowers and Wilkins D4 series system. Sweet. I turned off multi EQ X and am running only manual calibration to the main listing position. And to me, it sounds so much better. What's up with that? So
there's a lot
the reality
up with
that. Yeah. All right. So prime example, Jonathan, we've had him on the channel many times. Jonathan doesn't run any kind of room correction in his room. So he's kind of along the lines of what you're doing. So Ryan as well. There's nothing wrong with that. Acoustics, I think, is going to play a big role in that. I mean, you know, if your room is already really good, you definitely may not need any kind of correction, you know. Sometimes Odyssey can get it wrong, any kind of calibration, because I mean, they're doing the best they can with the information that they're being fed, the reflections in the room, and they're trying to, you know, accommodate for that. But the reality is ultimately your ears is really what matters. So to me, if it sounds better without calibration, it's not like you bought a bad unit. You just either don't like the way that Odyssey calibrates, or you don't need that calibration, or maybe it's doing more harm than it is good. So I don't think there's anything wrong with that, man.
Nope. I agree with that.
Terminator Juice. What movie studios do you feel have the most consistent Atmos mixes? I have no idea. I'd say that Warner Brothers is number one by a wide margin, and then probably Lionsgate. I don't really keep up with who makes what. Like I have no insight as to the different studios.
I don't even know that I could say that it's by a studio. I think it's more of a per title. I mean, there's so many that suck in every given studio. I don't think maybe I'm not looking deep enough at this, but
I don't think it would be dependent upon maybe even just the whoever mixed it. You know, I don't know if Warner Brothers has the same person that mixes every one of their movies. I doubt it. You know, if that's the case, then I think it could come down to you just happen to have a better mixer at Warner Brothers than Lionsgate or something like that. So
yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I don't think the company itself. Yeah, I don't think the company itself, like Ryan said, is really the determining factor on how well that movie's mixed for Atmos. A lot of times I think it even comes down to budget. How much they've budgeted for that film. You know, if they've got a lot of off-site locations, they're having to travel to Dubai and film here and do this and do that. They've got high-paid actors, but their budget isn't massive. They may have spent all their money on that. And so, you know, probably one of the, I mean, let's be real. We're enthusiasts. We want Atmos, but the vast majority of consumers don't even have Atmos. You know, they got a soundbar,
TV audio.
They got TV speakers, you know, so I don't think that that's going to be high on the priority list for, you know, these studios. So again, I just don't think that's the determining factor there. Chris, you both are first class audiophiles. Man, I appreciate it. I definitely do not consider myself an audiophile. I'm just an enthusiast, man. I love the hobby.
I just enjoy it.
And I continue to try to surround myself with people that are smarter than me and know more than me. And I continue to grow. And that's just really what I try to do. I try to learn.
I find it hilarious how much Michael downplays himself.
Well, I think I'm realistic though. You know, I don't think I'm being, I don't even know if this is a phrase, but superficially humble. I just don't think that I'm not an audiophile. Like here's where I feel inadequate a lot of times. Somebody will say, describe how that speaker sounds.
Yeah, but I can't do that.
I don't know, and it's amazing. You know, I mean, I use these cheesy words like, oh, it's exhilarating. And I can't describe the nuance. I hear people say stuff like, oh, the mid bass in this was just fun. How do you know? I mean, are they making this stuff up? Or can their ears really determine what were mid bass frequencies and what we're, so I don't know, but I feel inequitable anyway. But back to the thing, I always have looked forward to watching you both. Appreciate that, man. I'm looking to
Yeah,
purchase a
thanks. Appreciate that a lot.
75 to 77 inch TV. Should I go with OLED or QD OLED? So
There are no
here's a fun.
QD OLEDs over 65.
I don't even have a T. Well, I do now. I just got an 85 inch Hisense
What?
U7H. They just sent me one. So I'm going to be installing that in the living room, doing some videos on that. I think each format has pros and cons. One thing that I've learned in talking with the guys at Sony, even at Cedia, is if I remember correctly, like the OLEDs, they're not great in a room that has a lot of reflections because you're going to see a lot of. Is that correct, Ryan? Am I correct on that?
Well, they
Or do you
have
know?
gloss. They have gloss frame or gloss panels, much like what Plasma did, and they can't get as
Mhm.
bright, though they are much brighter. I don't have a problem with my OLED in my living room,
Okay.
but it's not going to be like LED
Yeah.
brightness. The big struggle that OLEDs have that I see a lot is motion, like for
Mhm.
sports and stuff. And LED is going to be much, much better at that. But the
Yeah.
LEDs can't compete in contrast.
Chris, I always recommend like go check out Stop the FOMO. I mean, to me,
Yep.
he's definitely one of the leading guys in TV. He'll tell you exactly his thoughts on why he recommends. And I don't think he necessarily says, "Hey, OLED is better than this." He's down to models. He's like, "Man, this model is garbage, even though it's this type of format. But this one I really like because it does this really, really well." So definitely go check out Stop the FOMO. He's got some great, great content on TV. So, but yeah, TV is definitely. I'm more in the audio than I'm video, so I've got a
Mm-hmm.
lot to learn. And one thing I've got a lot to learn is, and I haven't really shared this with anybody, but MadVR just sent me their NV Extreme, so I am super pumped about that. And so I want to be hooking up with Ryan, and he's going to be showing me kind of some ins and outs of it and walking me through how to set it up, and then I'll be making some content. Like I said, man, surround myself with people that know more than I do. And then what I love doing as a content creator is sharing the things that I learn. And so we're going to be going through a series of videos with the Mad VR, talking about nonlinear stretch. Like, what does that do? What does it look like? How easy is it to set up? I'll do some walkthrough kind of tutorial type stuff. So that's going to be a lot of fun. So look for that coming on the channel as well. Here we go. Irv says, looking for physical media player, should I go towards a gaming system or a Blu-ray player? If a gaming system, which one would you suggest, Xbox or PlayStation? So, a couple thoughts
The
on
gaming
this.
the gaming consoles are going to have sometimes issues with immersive formats.
Mm-hmm.
PlayStation especially.
Yeah. PlayStation is not like, they don't have Atmos. They got their own spatial audio, which I don't even think they've really implemented, but that's only going to really work, I think, on their headphones. So if you're looking at native Atmos, Xbox will do that. But to me, most of the time, Xbox versus PlayStation really comes down to what games do you like. Like to me,
Mm-hmm.
I've never once been interested in Halo. I don't care for the titles that Xbox produces. So I've always owned a PlayStation. So like I've been playing Modern Warfare 2, which I think that's cross-platform, God of War, Ragnarok, God of War 2018. I love Gran Turismo. Just picked that up today, actually, from Best Target from Black Friday. So, but the PlayStation to me has been a great unit, but like I said, it won't do Atmos. I think a Blu-ray player is great as well. If you're just looking for like playability, I don't think you're going to see a visual difference though. Kind of like that Kaleidescape
Nope.
versus physical media. I don't think you're going to put a PlayStation and go, oh, my Oppo, rest in peace, or my Panasonic, 820 or whatever model you look at. Panasonic, if it's kind of been the go-to nowadays,
Mm-hmm.
highly, highly regarded. The 820 is phenomenal. The 9000 is pretty expensive, but the 820 is a lot more affordable. But yeah, I mean, if
820
you
is
just
great if you need Dolby Vision. If you don't need Dolby Vision, just get the 420.
okay, that makes sense. But yeah, so I think again, you just got to kind of think, what do you want? What do you want to
Yep.
use? What do you want to accomplish? Um, and what best
What are you
fits your
trying to do?
setup. Hmm. Cool. Did I hit? Oh, got a couple more down here. Chad, man, about 3,000 for 2 subs. What would be the budget, Ryan?
So yeah. Is SVS still running that deal? Their Black Friday deal?
I don't know if they've ended it or not.
I mean, that would be good. 2 subs like the PB3000s or the SB3000s. I don't remember what you can get for under $3,000. You can get 2 of those, or if you step it up slightly, you could do 2 of the Monolith 16s from Monoprice, which are going to be uncompared. They'll be about $4,000 roundabouts, but nothing can compete with those in that price range.
Yeah, they're pretty baller.
Yeah, they are.
Sure.
They're much bigger. The drivers are super capable, and they've got a tremendous amount of output. But again, it's budget driven.
So this is going back to
SVS
earlier.
below that, and then the Monoprice.
Chris mentions that Odyssey is very aggressive with calibration. So again, that may be why he didn't like, with Odyssey on. So
well, it can also be very dependent on what Odyssey did during that calibration. It could very well do something totally different during another calibration. Your mic placement can impact a lot of things. Was everything perfectly quiet?
Right.
Odyssey has a tendency to do some things with subs and push where you need to push things up quite a bit and boost this lower frequencies afterwards. They're all going to behave a little bit differently. I do encourage you to run multiple calibrations through Odyssey and save one and then run it again and see what you think and go from there. But some people don't like Odyssey, and running no calibration, and depending on how complex your room is and what types of speakers you're in, like my room calibration has a very difficult time with my room because they're bidirectional. They have very narrow dispersion, and there's a ton of them. So it's room correction is a very difficult time with my room, and a lot of times it's better to just not run it, which is why I don't. Not that direct is bad.
So here's another thing that you may want to do too is I always recommend purchasing the $20 Odyssey app for a couple of reasons. Number one is what Ryan talked about. You can save pretty much as many profiles or as many calibrations as you want. So you could, and the cool thing is with the new models, again, you've got the 2 profiles that you can switch back and forth. So you can, and here's where I'm going with that too, is in that app, you can set what they call a curtain. And the curtain basically says, okay, Odyssey from this frequency and above, leave it alone. So these are typically like your higher frequencies, because really where we have the most issues is with those lower frequencies, our bass response. So that's usually what we're trying to correct and fix with Odyssey. But a lot of people don't like Odyssey messing with those higher frequencies. So I would recommend too, even trying to add that curtain. And again, you probably have to do some research. I'm, again, not the guy on that information, but there's a thing, look up Schroeder frequency. And so you try to find out where the Schroeder frequency, I think, is in your room. And that's where you want to try to correct that and above. But I think it's usually around like 300 Hertz, 500 Hertz, somewhere around there. So usually you'll pick one of those. Yeah. So it's like, okay, fix that and below, but leave the from there above alone. So you might want to try that just to see if you even like that. Again, you may not like the way Odyssey, what it's doing in your room, but it definitely may be, it may enhance what you're hearing. Juan, appreciate the information, man. He says the YO remote is planning to begin shipping by January. Just a few hundred remotes though. So they're waiting for the boards to be produced. Yeah, they got hit pretty bad with that whole supply issue. And so I think that's put them way behind. But like I said, I've seen some of their videos and their live streams talking about their progress, and it looks slick, man. So definitely go check them out. So that now I think it's going to be around $350. So I mean, it's not cheap. It's definitely not Crestron level. It's not Control 4 level. But if you want something that's got a lot of flexibility, a lot of programmability, make your own custom backgrounds on your, on the display. I think it's going to really open up some opportunities. I think it's going to
I
be
hope so.
I think it'll exceed what Harmony was able to offer. So
That'd be nice.
yeah, because I'm looking forward to something new, man. So the biggest complaint I have with Harmony is the for lack response time. So I click and drag and nothing happens. It's like, wait, you want me to do what? And then it moves. It's like I'm just so used to like our phones, man. Like you click and move and it's like it's screaming. It's like immediate response, and there's just like this lag, so but yeah, cool. I think we got just a few more questions.
I'm not starring anymore.
Yeah. So Melvin, really enjoyed the conversation. Appreciate the support, guys. Absolutely, man. Appreciate you for watching and hanging out. Melvin, you've always been a great supporter and
yeah, thanks for coming to join us.
So I have a Marantz 6015. I love that series, man. That was a fantastic series.
It was. I had one.
I had the 8015, beast of a receiver, man. Definitely best receiver I've ever owned. And that was one right before I went to separates. So he's got the 6015. I want to add external amps. I can't figure out how to adjust the settings to add amps for the front sound stage. So the way that the the way that the RCAs work in the SR6015 and most AVRs, they're just always hot. So they just stay on. So you're just going to add a 3-channel amplifier to the left, the center, the right, and that's it. So you don't have to adjust any settings. The only thing you'll need to do is I always recommend just running calibration again, run Odyssey, because basically like your volume levels could be a little bit off. It really shouldn't impact like EQ and things like that. But I just for safety measures, I always just run it again. But that's just me personally. Doesn't take that long.
Your SPL will be different. So definitely a new calibration is going to be needed. But
I mean, technically, I guess you could do like just an SPL meter. But like I said, I just like to if I change out any component, I mean, if I change out a Blu-ray player, that doesn't matter. But anything that deals with the sound, subwoofer, speakers, add Atmos, acoustic panels, anything that's going to change the way that room sounds, I always recommend just run a new calibration. So, but yeah, there's nothing that you have to go into the AVR and say, hey, turn on. Now, what you may be thinking of is in I think it was in the 15 series, they added a preamp mode. So what preamp mode does is it disables all of those internal amplification. So really the only way to use preamp mode is if you are offloading all of those channels. So if you've got, like in my case, I have 11 speakers. The only way I could go into preamp mode is if I have an 11 channel amplifier or multiple amplifiers that add up to 11 speakers that I can power them with. So, but I think, let me know if that answers your question, but yeah, there's really nothing specific that you got to do. So last couple questions. Juan says, Youthman, do you prefer Dolby Vision over HDR10? So here's the interesting thing. I've never experienced Dolby Vision. I don't have a TV in my living room. We've lived here.
You soon will.
Yeah. We lived here.
Does it support Dolby Vision?
I think so. Again, I don't even know. It's the, yeah, it'll come out in my review. How about that? But I've always had projector. We've lived here 15 years. I've had 4 or 5 different projectors. Of course, none of them support Dolby Vision. So I've never had a chance to experience that. So Ryan, you've got TVs, you've seen them. Any difference, any preference?
Dolby Vision's better. I mean, it's better. It does how they're doing things. You can tell, but does it make it a difference at the end of the day on projectors and stuff? No. I mean, I guess I'm not a great person to ask because I use an Envy, so it doesn't bother me at all. But on TVs, I'd say Dolby Vision's better, I think.
Zombie Russ says SVS sale ends today. So if you guys are looking to get that deal, head over to their website. It's about to go. I think we're down to the last question. I think so. Yep. So Chadman had awesome questions today, man. You should get a Youthman Q&A award or something, man. We got to come up with something. Good questions, man. So Monoprice 13 THX Ultra, not nearly as impressive as the 16 price value wise.
Nope. The 16's in a league of its own. It's kind of off out there that it does some unexpected things from what you would think you'd get from a Monoprice subwoofer. It's very, very good. It's a big boy.
Yeah.
And it's not cheap, but in comparison to other subwoofers that are delivering that level of value, it is cheap. And somebody else said that you can get Jed Presley said you can get two PSA 15s for $3K. So PSA also makes phenomenal subwoofers, and that may be another avenue that you want to look into.
Absolutely. Yeah. So I think he's saying, is the Monoprice 13 and 16, is there like a big difference there?
I think so. You may want to look at Audioholics. I think did a review on the 13 and the 16.
I reviewed the 13. It's
may
a
want to
beast, man.
Want to look at that. I don't. It can also be dependent on how big your room is. Like how much output do you actually need? Like I've got two 4000s and four RS1s in my room. Do I need that? No, I'd rip my room apart if I turned them all up. But that's what I have. So that's the question that you should ask yourself is how much output do I need and what is appropriate, not only for my budget, but for my space.
Yep.
And the 13 may work great, but Audioholics, I think, has some reviews. Michael has a review on the 13. Check those out and go from there. But Monoprice, awesome price for performance. PSA is going to be great. And SVS is a no-brainer.
Yeah. I'm going to pull a Ryan because we're going to go 4 more minutes. So Vakon says, sorry if this is a dumb question. There's never a dumb question.
Nope.
Seriously. Really don't believe that. So what is currently the best projector in the world right now? I don't know if there's the best in the world. The best that I have ever experienced by far is the Acoustics Eclipse. Beautiful, 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 beautiful projector. But it should be. I think it's like $350,000.
I thought it was 500.
Maybe it is. I don't know. I know it's more than.
They have 2 versions.
Okay. Well, there's several. So you got the Christie. Is there 2 versions?
The Eclipse. There's 2 versions of the Eclipse.
Is it? Now that I didn't know. Okay. Well, I saw one at CEDIA and it was gorgeous. Absolutely. I mean, it's like almost OLED level black.
It was ridiculous.
Beautiful.
Ridiculous.
Like I said, it should be at that price. But definitely, if you're interested in like, what's the best you can go? I mean, I think there's like Barco. I don't know how they compare, but man, the Eclipse was just phenomenal.
Yep.
Definitely worth you checking out if you're interested in really uber high end, great performing. Another thought here, HSU.
That's true.
Shoe is how they pronounce that. Shoe research would be definitely worth.
And rhythmic.
Yeah. So definitely great value there. A lot of output, clean. So.
And I've heard good things about Paradigm's new stuff lately. I don't have any experience with it, but I've heard good things about it.
Yeah, I'm not so sure. Yeah.
I don't know.
I haven't experienced myself, so I don't know. I know Barrett Spec of Tech, he had 4 Paradigm, they're 15s, I think. And he's going back to JTR, but he's going smaller. He had the RS2s. I think he's going with the 2400s, the ported version.
Well, I don't think the Paradigms would compete with the JTRs. No, absolutely not. But I think for the money, they're good.
Yeah. It's really cool, man. Well, it's been some great discussion, man. Appreciate you guys. I got more than several. I've got a lot of review content coming. Like I said, I've got the Mad VR Envy. I've got the Clips 5s to do the final review on that. I've got a couple of headphones. I've got a whole clip system. I've got a TV from Hisense.
Busy man.
Goodness, man. And that's like half of it, I think.
Well, then you're meeting us at
it's a lot.
The Tech Summit next week.
Oh, that's right. Is it next week?
Next week.
All right. I'm registered for that. That's over in like Tampa area. So it's close to me. So I'll be going to that. I've got content coming out from the trip to the Philippines. So I'm editing another video, hopefully for tomorrow. Me and Jessica's even going to sit down and do a video, like just sharing our experience of being over there. And there was even a comment she made. She said you'll see it in Doug's home theater tour. She said, we need a bigger theater room. I'm like, dang.
What?
Yeah, dude. So, but
Oh,
she said that for a lot. She's like, "You need a bigger room." I'm like, "I get it." So, but we got at least 2 years before we even think about moving because we want Rebecca to finish high school. So once she finishes, and maybe we'll consider it. So last question here, M-Wave 2.0, it's happening. We're still just finalizing details, location. Ryan, did you get a chance to check with follow up on the email?
yes. So I actually saw them on Friday.
Okay, cool.
Jonathan and I and Sheldon went out to Nebraska Furniture Mart and we talked to them. So we're gonna do some follow up. He's supposed to email tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's been pretty prompt, so
Yeah.
we should know more then.
Yeah. So the short version is we possibly maybe moving location this year and partnering with a group, but just kind of in the early stages of that, just trying to see if it's going to be a good fit for them and for us. And he says moving KCMO. What is that? Kansas City,
Missouri.
Yeah. So honestly, I don't even know. They've got several locations. So
he was talking about you moving when your daughter moves out.
Oh, funny. Yeah. No, it would still be like local, but just a bigger house. Yeah, man, I got a grandbaby coming any day. So baby Roman should be here. So I'm excited about that. So yeah, we're
Super
definitely
exciting.
Yeah, dude. I'm not interested in moving way away from him and the family and my kids and all that fun stuff. Plus I've lived in Florida all my life, man. Love it here. So well, cool guys. We are at an hour and 30. So appreciate y'all. Hope you have an incredible week. Got some great content coming your way. So make sure you got your bell notification and all that stuff. And then if you need any kind of home theater stuff, hit Ryan up. Ryan's a great dude, great resource. He'd be glad to answer any questions that you have and hook you up. So, man,
happy to help.
Always glad to hang out with you.
Always a pleasure.
Hope you guys have an awesome week, man. We'll catch you in the next live stream.
See you guys later.